Welcome to the City Current Show, powered by Higginbotham Insurance and Financial Services.
This show focuses on sharing good news and powering the good in our community. Now here's your host, City Current CEO, Jeremy Park.
Welcome back to the City Current Show, powered by Higginbotham. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're always honored to bring you inspiring stories of individuals and organizations making a difference and powering the good. And in this case, we're talking about the Tennessee chapter of the Alzheimer's Association. We're honored to have with us Amy LaGrant, board chair. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me this morning.
Well, let's go ahead and dive in, Amy. This is personal for you and your family. Give us some of the why. Give us some of your background for becoming board chair and supporting the Tennessee chapter of the Alzheimer's Association.
Well, thank you for asking. So I actually, unfortunately, have lost my father and my grandfather, both to Alzheimer's disease. I was a main caregiver for my dad for over 4 years as he progressed with the disease. And I always recant a conversation that I had with my dad, and I'm paraphrasing, and one of the main reasons why I'm so passionate about this cause is he was talking to me and he asked me a question and he said, Amy, why can't I do something about this disease? When I had heart disease, I was able to get a surgery, I was able to take medication, and I was able to get treatment. And he looked at me and he pointed to his head and he said, I don't understand why I can't get anything for this. And so he is, of course, has passed since, but we are now on this trajectory of being in this era of treatment. And we now have things that my dad could take or could deal with. And so I am really strongly trying to work towards us getting a cure and getting treatments and awareness about this disease.
And I know for you, you are a public speaker. You go out and share the story. You also talk about kind of the specialization. So give us a little bit of that vantage point for you going out and being an advocate, an ambassador, and really an evangelist for this.
Right. Yes, I do go out and speak and try to raise awareness and also change the stigma. There's a lot of stigma around caring for somebody with Alzheimer's and caregiving in general. I don't think people necessarily understand how the disease progresses and also how, what we can do about it. I've also gone out and spoke about how do you treat individuals with dementia and how can you create the opportunity for a different type of journey. I did a TED Talk a few years ago and really talked about that caregiving experience and ways that I was able to engage with my dad that was different than the way I had as his daughter and previously, but allowed us to be able to create a different type of relationship and allowed us to kind of move past just talking about the disease. I feel like a lot of caregivers, the main conversation is the weather and how's your Alzheimer's today and how do you build relationship with somebody in a very different way. And so I try to give people tools in order to do that. Yeah.
So let's go ahead and dive in. Start out by describing the Alzheimer's Association, the Tennessee chapter. Give us some background on the organization.
Yeah, so the Alzheimer's Association is based here in Nashville, Tennessee, but we serve the whole state. As the board chair, I represent the entire state of Tennessee. We have walks all over the state for the association to raise awareness and to give support to families. The Nashville Walk, which will be in November, is actually one of the largest walks in the nation. We have a goal of over $1.3 million to raise. And what that money will do is go to finding that cure, providing that financial support through legislation and advocacy, and really fund a lot of the research and the community support in our local Tennessee market here.
You hear the term, obviously, Alzheimer's, dementia. Describe Alzheimer's.
So dementia is kind of the big umbrella. There are many different types of dementia, and Alzheimer's is one of them. Actually, my dad actually had Lewy body's dementia. There's vascular dementia. There's all different types of dementia. Alzheimer's is the most prevalent. And also Alzheimer's has a very specific differentiator. You've probably, if you're following anything related to the research and the science around Alzheimer's, you'll hear things about tangles and amyloid plaques. And those two pieces are really what are very distinctive for Alzheimer's disease and from a scientific and medical perspective. I'm not a doctor, so I won't go into too much detail, but it'll give you the gist. We have much smarter people on our board and also a representative that could go into extensive detail for you, but I'll give you a little tease there.
When you look at, like you mentioned, the protocols, the treatment, the research, development, kind of that science and investing in finding, new treatments and protocols to push for, hopefully what's possible with a cure, you've got that side, you've got advocacy, education, community outreach, support. Talk about some of the various aspects with the Alzheimer's Association and what's going on across the state of Tennessee.
So one of the things that we are really focused on with the Alzheimer's Association is really that research and that cure. Really funding over $100 million went to fund research and science around Alzheimer's and dementia, which is phenomenal. So we also are really working on awareness and support through support groups, through educational awareness. We also have a 24/7 helpline that anybody who needs support around this disease can call at any time and get the help they need, get referrals to resources, talk to an actual person who is educated around this space, and also get connections into further ways that the Alzheimer's Association can support them, which I think is phenomenal because I think many people feel very alone and don't know where to turn when they're dealing with this disease. And having this hotline that you can call at any moment is just a true asset, I think, to our community.
You mentioned the TED Talk, advice for caregivers. Go ahead and dive in deeper on that side for some of the things that you learned, on your end, but you wish you knew earlier on. So when you talk about you sharing the lessons learned and advice, give us a couple of those tips.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I really wish I would have figured out a lot sooner was just allowing people to be who they are in that moment. I think a lot of time family members are holding on so tight to the person that they were before, and they're not necessarily in a place where they can open up the opportunity for them to have a different type of relationship. And so what I always give advice to caregivers on is that opportunity to be able to do something different. Maybe you're not doing the same things that you did with that person, but you are opening up the opportunity for something new. So that's always been my advice.
Yeah, and I think just finding the time to be with your family, your loved one, right? Just creating moments where you can have those special memories, even if they're a little different than what you might expect, being just present and being there. And like you said, giving them the grace of, hey, it might be a little different, but at the end of the day, it's about spending time with your loved one and caring for them and creating those special, moments together. Yeah. Carry that into how the community can support, because obviously the walk, as you alluded to, is one huge piece of the equation. So let's start with the walk and then we'll kind of carry it through with other ways the community can support. But talk about the walk in Nashville.
The walk is what we call the biggest support group. So we actually have over 1,000 people that attend this walk. And it is really an opportunity to be able to be in community with people that are going through the same as you. One of the most empowering and also kind of cathartic things that I find about the walk is our Promise Garden ceremony. You'll see in my background here a bunch of the Promise Gardens flowers. And what we do is we have a ceremony where we have people represent a different flower. So I carry a purple flower because I have lost my dad to dementia. But there are other people who carry a yellow flower that represents caring for somebody with dementia. Then there's people who carry an orange flower, which they don't have necessarily a personal connection, but they're a huge advocate for the cause. And then there are the people who carry the blue flower, which actually are people who are suffering with dementia. And then we end the ceremony with the white flower, which is the representation of the future of the person who is the first survivor of Alzheimer's and dementia. And so it's an amazing morning. And I encourage everybody to come out and just feel the energy and the spirit and the passion around trying to solve this disease and cure this disease. It's pretty phenomenal.
So the event is Saturday, November 9th, and it's at the First Horizon Park, which is home of the Nashville Sounds. And it's an amazing, ballpark, amazing experience, everything that you're talking about. Dive into the logistics, and also, too, you mentioned the fundraising goals. So talk about how the fundraising aspect takes place.
So the fundraising aspect takes place in two different ways. One is that you can actually start a team. So you can come and encourage your friends and families, your office, any organization that you may be involved in, develop a team, bring you guys all together, and everybody can fundraise for the event that way. You can also just join a team. You can be a part of another team and contribute and fundraise that way. The Alzheimer's Association has a great support online to help you set up your team page, set up your personal page, allow you to share on Facebook, and really set up ways that will help you be able to raise dollars in order to support this cause.
When you look at other big events throughout the year, and I'm looking already into 2025, what are some things across the state that people need to be mindful of? And you obviously may not know the exact dates, but just in general, what are some either big culminating moments like the walks or just other opportunities to plug in and volunteer throughout the year?
So you can definitely be involved with the walk, but there are other opportunities. If you have other areas of passion, one thing that also is a big part of our year is our advocacy day. And so we do that in the spring, and being here in Nashville, we have people that come and we go and we meet with legislators, talk to them about the legislation. There are events that happen all over the state and all over the year that are in support of the Alzheimer's Association. We have an organization and a fundraising group called The Longest Day that is individuals can do things that they're passionate about, whether it's bike ride or pickleball or, baseball, whatever it may be, or just throw an event that allows them to be able to share their passion for this cause. So we also have the ability to get involved in the committees for all of these organizations. Also, you can just be an educator and help speak and go out into the community and raise that awareness. So there's many different ways that you could get involved with the Alzheimer's Association if this is near and dear to your heart. And it doesn't necessarily just have to be fundraising or just have to be participating in the walk. There are many different opportunities for everybody to get involved.
Talk about building a sense of community, because as you mentioned, being a caregiver can be a lonely experience where you feel like I'm going through this alone. But then when you realize, okay, I can tap in through the Alzheimer's Association, and you start meeting others with similar experiences and sharing, you're building a sense of community. And so talk about what you've experienced as a part of that, and how that kind of is creating a ripple impact in the community through obviously the walks and the events, but really through a shared network of experiences to build this community.
Yeah, I will have to say the experience of being involved with the Alzheimer's Association has been so healing for me. I actually took on being the walk manager for the Nashville walk a few years ago, right after my dad had passed. And I couldn't imagine being in a better place going through all of that grief. And I developed a group of friends and supporters and cheerleaders throughout that whole process, and had the opportunity to really share my grief, but had huge amount of support through that process. There are amazing amount of individuals that are caring for people with Alzheimer's. I have met so many amazing people. I have met people who have cared for 15 family members that have gone through the disease over the decades. I have met people who have lost both of their parents to this disease when they were very young. I've met people who have lost their mothers while they're still teenagers to early onset dementia. I have watched people who have become advocates who have lost mothers and sisters. And this disease creates a resiliency that is just phenomenal. And the people that are behind this, I can't imagine a more dedicated, passionate, and just loving group of individuals. It's been pretty phenomenal. And a lot of these people are caring for people with Alzheimer's, and they're stepping up for the cause. And so it's inspiring. And sometimes it's hard, like we all talk about, sometimes being involved when you're dealing with caregiving or have recently dealt with a death. A lot of people are like, I'm not ready yet. I can't kind of get involved. And I will tell you, just step into it, because it will give you the support to help you be able to work through all of those challenges and grief. So
Yeah.
love to have anyone a part of it. So
We're talking with Amy LaGrant, board chair, Tennessee chapter of the Alzheimer's Association, and wrap up with website. Where do we go to access the resources, find out more information? Once again, this year's Nashville Walk is Saturday, November 9th, First Horizon Park with the Nashville Sounds, and gates open at 7 a.m. The walk ceremony begins at 8 a.m. And so wrap up with where we can go to access all that information. So website, social media, where do we go?
alz.org is your connection to all of this information. You can look for all of the walks here in Tennessee. If you're specifically looking for the Nashville Walk, you can go to alz.org/Nashville Walk. You can find us all on social media. On Facebook we have walk pages, but definitely recommend the website. And then the hotline, I think I will provide that number. It's 1-800-272-3900. And that's our 24/7 helpline for anybody who needs support around caring for somebody with Alzheimer's or just has questions about the disease.
Well, Amy, thank you for all you and your amazing team do to power the good. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. Have a good morning.
Higginbotham Insurance and Financial Services is proud to power the City Current Show. We're a people-first company that protects what matters most, the families, businesses, and trailblazers that keep our community going. As one of the nation's top independent insurance firms, Higginbotham is a single-source solution for business insurance, employee benefits, HR services, and personal insurance that's customized for you. We're here to serve you, the people you care about, and your community. Call 866-377-1959 or visit higginbotham.com.